In 2021, we took our family of 5 to Disney World and we spent a ton of money. In today's episode, we are sharing how we would travel hack Disney World, knowing what we know now about points and miles. And let me tell you, it is an incredible savings. Listen in. Hi, I'm Rhea.
And I'm Dwayne.
And we are your hosts of the Travel Party of 5 podcast, where we share how we travel as a family of 5 around the world.
We will also share how we use points and miles to travel as affordably as possible and sometimes even completely free.
So if you're wanting to travel more with your family, but you're not sure how, we'd love for you to listen in.
So welcome to our podcast where we hope you learn a thing or two to get you closer to your next trip.
Hi guys, welcome back to Travel Party of 5 podcast.
Yes, welcome back. Thank you for tuning in.
Dwayne just winked at me unintentionally. So today, go ahead.
Today we're going to talk about a Disney World trip that we took back in November of 2021. We will touch base on how we got there, where we stayed, how much it cost. Again, this is our pre-travel hacking days.
Yes. So we paid fully cash for this entire
which was
trip,
a lot.
And it was so much money.
Yeah. So then we'll discuss how we would do it today with the knowledge we have.
So differently.
Yeah.
So differently.
All right. So we flew from Arizona. We were on American Airlines. We paid $800 for 4 round trip tickets, which is pretty cheap. This was in 2021 again, so it was right after the world had opened up.
Yeah, still COVID times.
Yes.
And our daughter was under 2, so we didn't have to pay for her ticket at the time.
Lap infant. So we stayed at the Art of Animation in Carsland for 7 nights.
So we were on property.
Yeah. We did a 5-day park hopper pass for 4 people. Again, our daughter was 2, so she was free.
Under 2. I think it's under 2.
Under 2.
Yeah.
Sorry. The hotel plus the park passes alone were $6,400, which is a lot of money.
I mean, it is a lot of money. Yes.
So, I mean, that on top of the money we spent for food, we rented a stroller. We also bought tickets for the
Mickey's Not So Scary Holiday Party, I think. The holiday party had just started because we were there in the beginning of November.
Yeah.
They also do like a Halloween party in October.
Yeah.
And I think they basically just transition it. But I mean, tickets for that alone was $800, I think. It was so much money.
Well, this is where the park closes.
Yeah.
And then people that have tickets for this have they re-enter at a certain time and then they have it to themselves for a couple of hours.
Yeah. So I think the parks close at 5 or 6 that day. So if you just have regular park passes, you can only stay in the park until that time and then you have to leave. And
they only sell a certain amount of tickets.
Yeah,
correct?
They only sell a certain amount. So it's much, even if it's a sold out event, it's much less people than they normally allow in the park on a full regular day. So you do get access to the rides and stuff. And Dwayne and our oldest were able to go on a ton of rides, but our younger 2 both fell asleep in the double stroller. So if you have younger kids, I would probably not recommend spending that amount of money.
Or have them try and take a nap midday, because I don't think our kids did.
I don't know, maybe. But yeah, it was... I mean, Dwayne and our oldest had a great time.
Oh, we had a great time. And I mean, if we can do it all over again, I would. I mean, but we would definitely do it differently. But it was worth it, I think.
The party, you mean?
Just the whole trip in general.
Oh, the trip was a great time. It was a great time. But so all in all, we spent $10,000 on this Disney World trip. And that, again, that's to stay on property. We did 5
7 nights.
park days. Is that right? 5 or 4?
5.
5. So we basically went to each park one day because there's 4. There's Epcot, Hollywood Studios, Magic Kingdom, and Animal Kingdom. And then we did a second park, which actually ended up being Animal Kingdom because we got rained out on our first Animal Kingdom day. So, I want to say like $10,000 is a lot of money to spend on a vacation.
A lot of money.
And the reason that we were even able to spend that much money is because that same year we had sold our old house, bought a new house, and we had saved some of the money from the proceeds of the sale. And I mean, normally we don't spend $10,000 on a vacation. I would not spend that much money knowing what I know now about using points and miles. So I just want to be clear that we are aware that that is a lot of money, and yeah, it's a lot of money to spend.
Yep. Okay,
so let's talk about how we would do it differently today. So I have 2 hotel options. This podcast episode was inspired because I just stayed at one of these hotels for a work conference for my regular 9-to-5 job. And I was completely evaluating it to see if it would make sense for a family to stay there. So the first hotel option is going to be the Swan and Dolphin hotels, which are owned by Marriott. And these hotels, so the way that they're kind of set up is there is the Swan and there is the Dolphin, and they're connected by like an outdoor walkway. So you could think of them kind of like sister hotels, I would say. And one has a giant swan on the top, and one has what is meant to be a dolphin. Kind of looks like a fish. But how I would stay here using points is in our Marriott episode, Marriott, we talked about the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless credit card. And we talked about how normally that offer is you earn 3 free nights when you spend, I think, $3,000. But sometimes it's 5 free nights. And so when they do the elevated offer, that is the time to apply for that card. The elevated offer is 5 free nights. And so this is the Dolphin or the Swan is the perfect place to use those 5 free nights, in my opinion. Because if you remember, and if you don't, I'll just recap. The 5 free nights have to be valued at 50,000 points or less, or you can go up to 65,000 points a night or less, but you have to have the additional Marriott points to top off anything above 50,000 miles or points. So the certificate gives you basically 50,000 points off. And if the room is 62,000 points a night, then you have to pay the 12,000 points a night out of your Marriott point bank that you hopefully have. If you don't, you need to specifically look for nights that are 50,000 points a night or less. I did look on the calendar. I found plenty of options in the summer. So June, July, and then even into like beginning of September. I like Labor Day weekend, for example, you could get 5 nights in a row, 2024, as of yesterday. You could use those certificates if you had them. So there is availability. You just have to be a little bit flexible on the days that you can go. And I mean, you know, Florida in the summer isn't always ideal, but I also know that's sometimes the only time people can go.
Yeah. And I mean, you're going to save a ton of money because I'm sure the prices there are ridiculous all the time.
It's a very nice hotel.
Disney.
It's a very nice hotel. So I think, okay, let me talk about the room for a little bit. So I was in a 2 double bed room. The room I had signed up for was a 1 king bed, but by the time I checked in, it was late and they didn't have any more. So I had a room with the 2 double beds. I will say that the room is a little small for a family of 5. There's a desk that you can kind of move out of the way, but there was no like sofa bed or anything. So depending on how old your kids are, if it were me personally, would bring an air mattress with me. And our youngest still sleeps in a pack and play. She's still pretty small. So that's how I would do it, because 2 double beds is, I feel like, pretty small. You know, it's hard to sleep an adult and a kid in each of those,
Yep.
in my opinion. But that's what we would do. So
I can do it, but
I like my space when I'm sleeping. So, and our middle son just is like fighting demons in his sleep every night.
mover and a shaker.
So yes. So can you stay in a room with 2 double beds as a family of 5? You can. You absolutely can, especially at Disney where you are gone most of the day. But I just want to set the expectation that it's probably a little bit of a tight squeeze. Would I do it? Yes, I would. 100%, especially if it were free or nearly free. The other thing to keep in mind for Marriott specifically is on their point stays, you still pay the resort fee, and the resort fee at this particular hotel, I was at the Dolphin specifically, it was $25 a night. So you would still pay with your certificates. I would still expect to pay $125 total, $25 per night.
So is this property considered to be on Disney property?
So I think yes. I think the answer is yes. So according to their website, so the hotel, first of all, offers free resort shuttles to and from the parks, plus special Disney benefits like early park entry and extended evening hours. The hotel is also walking distance between Epcot and Disney's Hollywood Studios. There is also like a water taxi that you can take to Epcot and Hollywood Studios, or like I mentioned, they have a shuttle bus to all other attractions and Disney resorts. I think the shuttle comes like every 15 or 20 minutes, so it's pretty regular. And let's really quickly talk about the amenities of the hotel, because I did on my last day there, even though I was there for a work conference, I walked around the hotel and was trying to get a feel for what they have there. So they do have a laundry room, paid like coin laundry, but definitely super helpful when you're staying a long time if you travel light. They also have a game room that our kids would have loved. It was pretty fun, looked pretty fun. And then they have a pool. So they have an adult pool and what looks like more of a kids pool. So definitely a good hotel to stay at and relax if you are doing like a resort day in between your park days, which is always a good idea as a side note, because 4 days of Disney in a row is pretty exhausting. As far as restaurants in the hotel goes, I only ate at one, and it was in the Swan. So remember, the Dolphin and the Swan are sister hotels. You can walk between them. It's maybe a 5-minute walk. And there were, I think, 3 different restaurants in the Dolphin: Blue Zoo, a Mexican restaurant, and maybe one other one. Oh, Shula's. Shula's Steakhouse is in there. I did not eat at any of those, but I did eat at Il Molino in the Swan.
Is that Dan Shula?
Yeah, it is. I did eat at Il Molino in the Swan, which is an Italian restaurant. A little more fine dining, I would say. Like, I would bring my kids there for dinner, but they would get a lecture beforehand on how to behave properly. The food was delicious. And I feel like I don't say that about a lot of restaurants. And we've talked about that before, that we have high expectations. This food was incredible, and I would 1,000% return there again. So if you're looking for a little bit of a fancier dinner, highly recommend that one.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. You want to talk about the second hotel option?
Yeah, the second hotel option we would use would be the Hyatt Regency Grand Cypress, which is also a golf resort. It is definitely a family-oriented hotel. This hotel also comes with complimentary shuttle service to Disney World and Universal Studios. It's a Category 4 Hyatt, so if you have some free nights, you could probably use them here. Otherwise, rooms here are 15,000 points per night for an average standard room. Like Rhea said earlier, the Dolphin is considered to be on property. This hotel, however, is not.
If you have plans to do both Disney World and Universal Studios or Islands of Adventure, this hotel is actually a really good place to stay, because you can take a shuttle to both Disney World and also to Universal. And that is super convenient, because if you stay on Disney property, it is a pain in the butt to get transportation to Universal. They do not coordinate with each other, and you basically have to coordinate your own transportation. And when you have kids in car seats, That is annoying because Disney has the minivan, but it only goes within Disney property. And the minivan, basically has car seats for you. But if you're going to Universal, that you can't use that. So
the rivalry is strong.
Yeah. I mean, it was such a pain in the butt. I had to coordinate like a Mirrors transportation bus to pick us up because we did a day at Islands of Adventure, and it was just a pain. And as always, there is no fees on Hyatt reward stays unless you have to pay for parking or something. But so if you were to use points to stay at the Hyatt Regency Grand Cypress, you would pay $0 out of pocket unless you're parking a vehicle.
Which is great.
Oh, it's incredible. And also, as a side note, the Chase Sapphire Preferred and the Reserve has an elevated offer right now of 75,000 points when you spend, I think, $4,000. And those 75,000 points, if all the nights were $15K a night, the standard rate, you could get 5 nights at this property for just from that one card. So just something to know. I will put the link to that card in the show notes if you guys want to apply. Okay, let's talk about park tickets because, so we have the biggest Disney expenses are hotel, airfare if you need to fly there, park tickets, and food. So park tickets, we talked about this in our Disneyland episode as well. There's really only 2 ways to hack park tickets. One is through doing like the pay yourself back or points travel eraser using like a Capital One card. That essentially equates to cashing out your points for either 1 or 2 cents per point, which is rarely the best redemption. But if you're solely going for like a free trip, then you could do that to erase your Disney tickets. The only caveat there is you cannot purchase them directly from Disney. You have to purchase them from a company that will code as travel. And Disney, if you buy right on the Disney website, codes as entertainment. So there's a few companies. What are they called? One of them is called Undercover Tourist. I can't remember the other one, but Undercover Tourist is who we use to buy our tickets to Disneyland, as a side note, because I think they were 5% off or something. The other way, and this is my preferred method to earn money for park tickets, is bank account sign-up bonuses. So we talked about this in the Disneyland episode, but Doctor of Credit has a list that they update weekly, if not weekly or monthly, with current bank account bonuses. A bank account bonus is basically you open up a checking account or a savings account with a bank. You meet their minimum direct deposit requirements. Sometimes it's 1,000, sometimes it's 5,000 in 60 or 90 days. Once you've met that requirement, they give you a cash bonus in that account. It can be $100, $200, $300. Yep. Just depends on the bonus.
Free money.
It's free money. You do pay income tax on it. Like you will get a document at the end of the year, so you do have to claim it as income, but I mean it's not a ton of money, so it's not a ton of taxes. And I think you could easily, between 2 people, earn a couple $1,000s to offset your park tickets. So that is what I would do. And then airfare. So Dwayne mentioned earlier, our airfare on this particular trip was incredibly cheap. But again, that was just a sign of the times. We still wore masks. We wore masks on the plane. We had to wear masks at Disney World anytime we were inside anywhere.
Yep.
And so it was still very much COVID times, and you're not going to find $200 round trip from Phoenix to Orlando nonstop ever again, probably. So here is how I would hack the flights. I would go to Google Flights and I would search for wherever your home airport is to Orlando, which is MCO. That's the airport code. Once you do the search, then I would filter it to nonstop, because in a perfect world, we want nonstop flights, especially with kids. There's also less chance for things to go wrong if you're on one flight. And then I would look at whatever those airlines are. So whatever airlines fly from your home airport nonstop to Orlando. Okay, so let's say it's United or American or whatever, Southwest. So then I would figure out how to earn points to fly on those airlines. So let's say it's United. For United, you can transfer Chase Ultimate Rewards points to United. So you could either open a Chase card or a United card for those points. If it's American Airlines, you could do the same thing. You could open an American Airlines card. You cannot transfer points from any credit card to American Airlines directly, which is a bummer because I love American and we have a lot of flights out of Phoenix on American. But you can transfer to British Airways. So if you can find the nonstop flight from your home airport to Orlando on British Airways, you can transfer either your Chase points, your Amex points, or your Capital One points to British Airways and book that way. So that's one way to get around it. And you're still going to be flying on American Airlines metal, as they call it. Like the plane will be American Airlines, but you're going to book through British Airways. And then Southwest, I think if you have one or two companion passes, Southwest has a ton of flights to Orlando from a lot of different airports. And that's always, in my opinion, a viable option as well. So don't forget to check Southwest. Okay, so basically then our only other expense is food. And there's really no hacking that unless
you pack snacks and bring reusable water bottles like we do.
Yes.
Or if you're a family that likes to make lunch and bring their own lunch, you can go back into the parking lot and eat, right? Because you can't eat inside.
You can, yeah. I mean, Dwayne is laughing because that is crazy to him. But I grew up going to Disney World every Christmas. We would drive down from New York. We had an RV. We would stay in a campground, and we would go to Disney a couple days usually. But we were very much a pack your lunch and eat it inside the park family. So we would carry through a cooler. My parents would carry a cooler with water bottles and peanut butter and jelly or something. And
I mean, if we had an RV, excuse me, if we had an RV, I would maybe do that once or twice.
One time I made Dwayne eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, out of the trunk of the car, like at the beach or something. And I think that he really considered why he married me at that moment. Oh. Okay, so let's recap. Okay, so we went in 2021. We spent literally $10,000. Okay, if we were going to do it differently, this is what it would cost. So assuming you use points for your flights and the only thing you have to pay for is the taxes and fees, one domestic flight taxes one way is $5.60. Okay. So if we assume 5 people round trip, that's $56 in taxes and fees that you would have to pay cash, and the rest you would use your points for. So we're at $56. Okay. Then let's assume you stay at the Marriott and you pay the $25 resort fee a night for 5 nights. So that's $125 plus 56. So what's that? $181 so far. But we've got our airfare covered, our hotel covered. So then park tickets. I went on the Disney website. Right now they have a 4-park magic ticket on sale, and it's $99 per day per person. So for 4 days, it's $396, and you can do 1 park each day. So I don't think you can repeat parks, but you would be able to cover all 4 parks one time. So for a family of 5, that's $1,980. So that's the amount you would need to earn in bank account bonuses or close to cover or almost cover it. And then the only thing that's left is food. And like we said, we pack snacks and reusable water bottles so that when our kids want a snack every 14 seconds, they can have one and it doesn't cost money for us. And then we like to do a mix of sit-down meals. Usually 1 sit-down meal a day is plenty. And then like a quick service kind of lunch. And so basically $181.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot beat that for airfare and 5 nights.
Yeah.
At a Disney property.
It's way better than $10,000.
We spent $6,400.
I'm so sad for 2021 Rhea and Dwayne, who just didn't know any better.
So yeah, hopefully this was helpful. And
yes. I will so I mentioned that Chase card. with the elevated offer. So I'll put a link to that in the show notes if anyone is listening and wants to apply. As a side note, you cannot apply for this card if you have had the card and gotten the bonus in the last 48 months. But if you're brand new, this is the perfect starter card. The annual fee is only $95. Make sure you get that one and not the reserve, which is the $550 annual fee. And you get the same amount of points. So I would go with the cheaper one to start. Yeah, I'll put that link in the show notes. If you have any questions, you can find us on Instagram at travelparty5. And we appreciate you listening. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Bye.